Hello, hello. I'm going live, I think. I hope. A bit early, so I'm going to check my live streams next, make sure I'm actually live before I start the project. If you're here, say hi in chat. I like to hear from my audience. It's always nice. If you're a regular, you may have noticed I have decided to push the start time back an hour, hoping to be a little bit later in the day for the folks in the US. So it's a little bit less awkward for them to maybe wake up early. All right, I have verified I'm live on LinkedIn. Looks like I'm live on YouTube. I think we are ready to go. Awesome. So I don't know if I'm going to have much audience today. Usually it picks up after I get started. I kind of announced this one late. Even though it happens every week, I think the last minute announcements are where most of the viewers come from. Today I'm going to be continuing on my open source project, Kivik. Probably focused on refactoring today. I want to merge a couple functions into a single function. If I can get there. I don't know if it's possible. We'll see. Wait just a moment since I have 0 viewers as I'm speaking. Wait and see if other people join before I start into the intro. I'm just exactly right on time right now anyway. You may be wondering why I'm chatting to myself if nobody's here. It's because people watching the replay. And I see that I have 1 viewer now. Welcome. Waiting just a minute or two for folks to join before I dive into my explanation of what I'm doing today. I will be refactoring some code is my plan. We'll see how that goes. If it turns out to be a nightmare, I might just add new features instead. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I guess I'll go ahead and meander my way over to my editor and get started. I'm just going to dive right in since there's not a whole lot of people on right now. But feel free to ask questions if you want to know what I'm working on. Usually I give a little preamble, just explaining the background of the project. I'll probably wait a few minutes and do that in maybe 10 or 15 minutes if more people have joined by then. But anyway, what I'm going to work on today is to try to refactor. So I have 2 functions that do almost the same thing. Let me pull those both up here. I think one is in views and one is in query. So I have these 2 functions, one called query view, and then over here I have one just called query, and they do almost the same thing. They take different data sources though, but they produce the same type of output. So I want to try to merge these into a single function, and I'm not sure how easy that's going to be. Despite the superficial similarities, the internals might be quite different. But that's going to be the goal for the day, is to merge these into a single function. Let me go ahead and do a little bit of background. I said I was going to wait 10 or 15 minutes, but I think it's important to understand the context here. So if you're new to my stream or the project I'm working on, I'm essentially re-implementing CouchDB for testing purposes. So I can do testing in memory, for example, without starting a CouchDB server. And these 2 functions I want to refactor correspond to all docs and a view. Actually, I'll pull these up in 2 different tabs. So here's the first one. And the other one is the view endpoint. Now, the reason I have 2 functions right now is because I implemented all docs first because it was easy. It basically is a select star, if you're in SQL terms. And then I later implemented the view, which is a customized view. So you can think of like a customized select query, right? But technically, all docs is a special case of a general query. As it makes sense, select star is a special case of select something, right? So I've implemented the simple version here on the left and the complicated version on the right. And I want to and then I implemented a whole bunch of the different like order by and limit and stuff like that on the general one. Rather now that I'm ready to implement that on the general case, I don't want to go back and re-implement that all the time and then have to keep all those features in parallel across two different uh, functions. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Is merge these so that I don't have to maintain all those functionality in two different places. So I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't even know if it's going to be easy or difficult or what. So the function the function itself isn't that complicated, but that's mainly because it calls another function underneath, right? So here it calls perform query, which is where the real logic happens. And then this function is kind of similar. No, this one actually has most of the logic in it. So anyway, I guess I need to spend a little bit of time looking at these and seeing what might make sense. I don't think it's going to make a lot of sense. So maybe the first step is to make query call this logic in the case that all docs is called, or actually there's a couple other cases also, local docs and design docs, but they're so similar. So this query view handles these three cases: all docs, local docs, and design docs, and then query handles everything else. So I think maybe the first step is to make query general enough to call query view, and then I can make all docs, local docs, and design docs call query instead of query view. So it won't really change anything. It'll just be like a proxy function in the first step. But then I can start maybe to extract things out. So maybe I'll try that. Let me just start with the all docs case. Because I have tests for all of them, but I'll just start with one. So I think what I want to do is change this to do this: return d.query ctx, and then it takes a ddoc and a view, which are not provided here. So I think I have to decide what to call those. I guess I could just use this, right? So I already have these constants that describe which of the views I'm using, which are these sort of built-in views. So I'll do that, and then the view will be blank, and then options. So this is going to break my code because now it's doing the wrong thing. Let me just demonstrate. Yeah, all these tests are broken now because they're calling the wrong function. But now I want to make this call back to the query view thing. All right, so let me think. But I can just put that at the very top of the function to start with. So let's just do a switch statement. ddoc. I don't want, I mean, that's what I want, but I don't want the literal. I want the constant. There we go. Return d.query view. It's going to work now, although I'm not convinced that this has added any value. Yeah, now it works. I'm going to change this from query view to query built-in view, since that's more just, you can't see my screen. Oh, crap. Thank you for telling me. Yep. One second. That's embarrassing. All right, there. Can you see my screen now? I think it's on there. Really apologize for that. Thank you for letting me know. So I'm going to rename this function to query built-in view, since that more aptly describes what I'm doing. And I'll go ahead and update these these other two to do the same thing. So local docs. Actually, I don't need three cases. I just put these all in one, right? View local docs and design docs. Then I just pass ddoc. All right. Test should be passing. All right. But all I've done is proxy through one other function, which is on the face of it silly, but and maybe it ultimately is silly, but I think it's I'm hopeful that it will be a way to start moving the direction I want to go. In fact, I have an idea for the next step. So anyway, let me go ahead and make a branch, merge, query methods, and then I'll make a commit here. Make all docs, local docs, and design docs proxy through query method. All right, so the very simplest thing I can do is make this, I can remove some duplication. So I have this ops being created here and here. I'm going to reduce that duplication by just moving this to before my switch, and then changing this to, instead of taking driver.options, which is the raw value that I get from the front end, to return this type, which is ops map. And then I can delete that. But now I need to pass that ops in here. All right. Why is this complaining? Oh, because I forgot to, okay, hang on. I'm gonna reset this. I forgot to update these two examples to call that. So let me, to call the query function. So let me do that. Turn d.query. Oops, deleted the wrong line. Let's try that again. All right. Well, that's what I meant. That's what I thought I had committed a moment ago, but I'd forgotten to. Made a mistake again. There. Amend that to the previous commit. All right. Now, let me just double check it. The tests are working. Indeed. Okay. Now I'll do the ops. It's not a big deal. It's only one line of deduplication, but baby steps are a nice, safe way to go. It says test failed. I'm curious why that is. What did I do wrong? Oh, because I need to rename this value to match. Now I think it'll work. Test pass. Double check here. All right. All right. Now, I don't really know how much of this I can. Well, let me just start looking at this and see what else I can do. So here I have. I'm handling the different cases. So the difference between all docs, design docs, and local docs is that all docs returns everything, actually everything except local. Local returns documents that have the underscore local prefix, and design docs returns everything that has the underscore design prefix. That's it. Otherwise, they basically select star. Okay, so here I'm handling. This is the interesting stuff. This is the sort of logic that I want to deduplicate across these two functions, if possible. Where I can set like the end key and start key, limit, skip is like an offset. Maybe I should start with a simple case. Maybe I can implement limit, and then so that the thing is, the thing is that I'm the way it's implemented is by modifying this SQL query, and I want to be able to do the same thing there as I do here. So what I really want to do is sort of merge these two cases, and maybe I can. So this is part of perform query. Maybe I can make query built-in view act like perform built-in query or something like that. Let me compare these SQL statements. See, they're returning the same number of values. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And here I'm returning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm returning one fewer. I'm not returning this list of revs over here because I haven't implemented that capability yet in this new function. All right. And then these limit and skip are not implemented over here either. I don't think it's worth trying to normalize to like merge these queries because they're quite distinct. So you can see this one's actually longer. It does a union on a couple different things, on 3 different things actually. But I do think it might be reasonable to. I'm not really sure how I want to handle this. So some of these, like group and group level and reduce, are always irrelevant for these 3 cases. But I still think I could simplify this, and maybe one way to do this, simplify this perform query entirely, is I'm passing in booleans and stuff here. Maybe that's okay. What these functions here, ops.group, ops.group level, these basically, ops is essentially query parameters that are sent to the API, and this parses those, is what that does. Perform query returns driver dot rows. Yeah. Okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start trying to make perform built-in or query built-in view look more like perform query, and I'm gonna do that initially by moving the ops things, end key, start key, limit, etc., out of here and into this function. Okay. So let's just start. Let's do a simple one. Let's start with limit. Let's copy or start with skip. No, we'll start with limit. I'll do both at the same time since they're closely related to each other. So let's move that over here. So by doing this, then if either of these are invalid, at least the error handling happens for both cases, right? So then I delete this code here, and I pass that in as an argument. I'm going to reformat this function signature to be a little more readable when it's long. I don't really like these long function signatures, and I may change it over time, but for now I want limit, skip. Those both ints. It's an int 64 and skip. Both int 64s. It might be silly, but that's what they are right now, so we're going with that. I need to pass limit and skip. Except I should spell it correctly. All right, so I've extracted a little bit of logic out of there to there. Let me just run the tests. It's still not anywhere near what I want because I really want to like move this logic also to a common place, but I'll get there. So let me commit this. Limit skip parsing from, what was it called? Query built-in view to query. Okay. Now I think I'll do the same thing for end key and start key. No, I'm not going to do that just yet. The reason is because the logic with the queries is tightly coupled right now. You see, it's not just parsing it. Well, I can move the parsing out. That's easy to do. So we're going to do this and start key. I'm not sure. I guess I'm not sure what's supposed to happen if these are invalid inputs, but I'll worry about that a little bit later. Right now I'm refactoring. I don't want to add I'm not sure why I put those before limit and skip, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, right now I'm only refactoring, right? I don't want to make any functional changes. So I have a feeling that there should be an error value returned from each of these, so that if there's an invalid input, that it gets handled, but that's not my goal right now. Okay, we broke something. I probably changed the order. End key, start key. I did. You know what? I think start key, end key makes more sense. So let's do it like that. Thank God for tests. Let me see what other options. How else is this used? I'm using it for descending, inclusive, and I'm a little bit torn here about how to handle this. There's so many different options that passing them all as individual arguments seems a little bit unnecessary, a little bit over verbose. On the other hand, passing them like this also isn't ideal because that means they're reparsed every time it's accessed. I could turn it into a struct or something like that I pass around. That also feels a little bit silly or like suboptimal, because it's just not strict type checking that way. Like I can't, like I'm not. It's easy to forget to pass one of those in. My test should, in theory, cover that case, but you know that's the situation. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and move these also to there, just to be extra explicit, and then yeah, I'll worry about the rest. You know, I'll worry about how to refactor that further later, right? So I have descending and inclusive end. Descending is used twice, so let's use it descending first. So I want to use that variable version here, and anywhere else it's referenced, which is so far just right there, I think. So my goal is to make this completely unused. It's kind of my ultimate goal. Oh, here's one, include docs. Let's do that one first. Let's do that one next. Let's not really worrying about the order of the arguments right now. Just as long as it's consistent. Something I'll want to fix over time. You know, maybe I want to change that. But like I said, passing all these arguments to one function feels a little bit weird anyway. So I'll probably be refactoring that regardless. And then next, inclusive end. I'll do that one next. Oh, I forgot to include that there. My test would have been failing. So I've done descending, include docs, and I'm going to do one more before I commit this. Inclusive end. That one goes at the end. And there we go. Question is, what's the purpose of this code? As I mentioned at the very beginning, before many people were on, I'm working on a CouchDB implementation that will run in memory for testing purposes. And I've implemented two functions, one for all docs and one for views. And they're ultimately really the same thing. All docs is a special case of view. So I'm trying to merge these two code paths together in my code to be more maintainable. That's what I'm trying to do today. And I'm doing that with baby steps. I have a lot of tests in place over both functions, so it's pretty easy to go quickly, I think. This is not part of standard library. No, this is part of Kivik, my open source project over here at kivik.io. You can go to kivik.io if you're interested. All right. Okay, so let me see if there's more options being used. Oh, here, direction is being referenced there. So there's another one. What is that value? It's a string. Why is that a string? I know why it's a string. It's because it's actually the same thing as descending, but in string form, so that it can be treated as SQL. So what I want, I don't want this to be part of a method on ops. I want this to be like just its own function. Func descending to direction, something like that. So it takes a Boolean and returns exactly that. So then I can do this, and I can just pass descending in there. And then I can delete that method I just saw. It might be used somewhere else. I'm not sure. It is. It's used over here in changes. So let me fix that as well. I'm using it two places. Do I have, well, so here I want ops dot descending. Is that right? I think so. And then after I do that here also, now I can delete that direction method. Now I no longer have two methods on ops to get the same data, just in different formats. I just get it in one format, and I convert it with this function. Let me commit that. Let me run the test just to be certain. My tests always automatically run in my IDE, but I like the extra, maybe I'm OCD or something. I like the extra assurance of running it on the terminal sometimes. Just copy paste this to avoid any typos. Okay, now I'm wondering if this ops can be deleted. Is it being used anywhere else? It's being used here. Okay, there's one more. I need to include conflicts. Oh, because I spelled it wrong. That's why it's doing this. Conflicts doesn't seem to. Well, conflicts even is even worse than that. My goodness. Okay, come down here. Where was it? Here it is. Tests are still passing. Hey, there we go. It's telling me that the ops is not used. So I can delete that now. Delete it here. From built query built-in view to query and remove ops arg. All right. Okay. So at the moment, all I've really accomplished is that all these different args that are parsed, I can use the same code now for both code paths. I'm not using it yet for this common case, but now I can easily without duplicating that. So that's a small win. A much bigger win will be if this sort of if some of this logic can be duplicated or deduplicated rather and used in both places. Let me think how I can do that. I think to do that, what I want to do first is add some of this functionality to both places. Because right now, I would just sort of be guessing that it's working, and that's not a way to go. So let's do this. Let's do something simple. Let's add limit and offset to this capability. Let's add limit and offset capabilities to this method, the query method. So let me open up my test file, and we're going to write a test. All right, where is it? Here we go. And we're going to do limit first, so I'll delete that from my to-do list. Limit equals 1. All right. Now, I'm going to copy some boilerplate from up here. I'll just copy, whoops. I'm creating 3 documents. I don't really care what the documents are. The point is that I should only get one of them back when I only need 2. Let's do the minimum necessary to make the test meaningful, right? Copy this and edit it. And so I should get 1 result back. I don't want DDoc review here. But I do want DDoc and view there, actually, come to think of it. I do need to create our design document, obviously, for this to work. Don't worry about what I'm mumbling right now. I'm just mostly talking to myself. All right, so I'm going to emit. Doesn't really matter what I emit, but that's fine. And then I want options params. Just need a single one, limit 1. Okay, and it should return 1 document. Let's see what it does. It's going to return 2 right now because I haven't implemented it, right? So it's failing in the expected way. That's nice to see. Let me copy this twice. Now, the interesting thing is it's not ordered right now. What I wanted to return is, oh, you know what? It's not ordered because these aren't ordered. Let me change this to B. Maybe it is ordered. Well, yeah. Okay. So I get A and then B. So this is. Let me put an actual value in here. I don't care what it is, but just something a little more readable than an empty object. Okay, so value should be 1. I'm not sure why it's quoted, but I'll worry about that later. Okay, Now it's failing the correct way. It's returning all docs, which is 2 of them, or not even documents, but all entries, 2 entries, because of ignoring limit. So that's exactly what I want it to, how I want it to be failing before I write the test. So now let's make it work. And that's where we want to do this limit thing. And I probably should pull up that other one I had, because I can kind of copy. I mean, that is kind of the goal, right? To make it the same. I pulled up the wrong, oh, here it is. Pulled up in the wrong window. So I should be able to copy this limit and put it at the end of this. I'm not sure that. Okay, it's a little bit different because, okay, I need to add fmt.sprintf. And then this isn't going to be arguments 3 and 4, it's going to be arguments 1 and 2. And then I need to pass this limit and skip is what they are. Actually, I'm just going to do limit for now. So you see, limit is not being, it's squiggly red because that variable doesn't exist in this function. So let's pass it in. Let me reformat this to be a little easier to read. Reduce. Way too many things here too. I'm going to worry about that at some point, but not right now. Okay, limit should be an int 64, I believe. Now we're going to have a failure because we're not passing enough arguments. It's easy to solve. Let's pass it. Let's see if things magically work now. Well, that changed things. It's not quite what I expected. Now I'm getting nothing. I'm getting a nil object. That is interesting. Let me put this over here. I like to have my tests on the right and my code on the left, typically. Just a personal thing. Okay, why in the world is this failing now? Let me see what this query looks like. I'm going to run just the failing test, so I don't want to see a whole bunch of other output. Limit equals -1. I think that's right. No, that's not right. What does that do? I can't remember what that does. I have to look this up. I remember I did that specifically on purpose in one case. I don't remember what that case was. I can't remember if that treats it as no limit. I think it treats it as no limit. Let's ask ChatGPT. That's easier. How does SQLite treat a limit of -1? That's what I thought. No limit at all. So that's not actually correct. But that's okay. I don't care right now. What I'm puzzled by is why I'm getting a nil result now rather than all of the results like I was getting before. Let's comment that out and see what happens. Okay, now I'm getting all of them. So it's definitely having an effect. I know why. I know why. It's because this limit is, well, actually, I don't know why. But I suspect it's because this limit is taking effect only on this, not on the entire query. That's one of the annoyances about unions, especially in SQLite I discovered, is it has some weird assumptions about which keywords apply to which query. So I need to basically put this whole thing into, can I just do it like this? Into a subselect from I don't know if this is going to work, but I'll try it. No, that didn't work. Why is it returning nil? So there's this interesting thing here that in this case, I actually return one of the reasons for this union is I return a header row, which is kind of abusing SQL, but that's what I'm doing. So I always get this header row first. It has some like metadata about the results, and then I have the results. Although, maybe I want to apply this to the actual results are right here. So maybe I need to apply that to the subquery. Let's see what that does. Let me disable that debug. Okay, that's working. That does make sense. I still don't know why it was getting a null before, but it does make sense to put that here. I also don't know. I still don't know why it's doing -1 though. That does not make sense to me. Okay, here's limit 1. Must have been showing me the wrong one. There's -1, and there's limit 1. Yeah, I'm running more than one running more than one test for some reason. This regular expression is matching more than one thing. Okay, and I'm pretty sure I just matched one there. No, I still got more than one. My goodness. There, I got just one. Okay, and it's limit 1, so that's working. Okay. All right, so I have successfully added limit support to the query method. I'm going to do the same now with skip, and then I'm going to try to merge those two together, as we were discussing earlier. Now, there's a whole bunch of other tests I could add to the limit. Like, what if I say limit equals popcorn? I want an error, right? But I've already done that for the other function. So I don't need to duplicate that. If I can merge these together, then all those extra cases, all those corner case tests on the other function will apply to both. So that's the reason I'm trying to merge these things, right? Okay, so let's do limit equals 1, skip equals 1. So now I want 3 documents. Well, I guess, well, yeah, it's better with 3. And now I expect it to return the middle document. So I should get B and value 2. And now I need to pass in more than one param, which is a little bit annoying. Let's reformat this to be a little more readable. All right, the test should fail because the limit should work, but the skip shouldn't. So I'm getting only one document. I'm just getting the first one, but I want the second one. So let's make skip work. So here is where I copy the rest of that logic I had with the offset. And now I need to pass the skip value in. It's not defined because I haven't passed it in from here yet. So let's pass that. Is that also, I think it's an N64 as well. And now I'm not passing enough arguments here, so let's do that. I'm guessing it's going to pass now. Ooh, it's not, because I got a whole bunch of weird errors. And you know why? Because I didn't put the right argument number. I just copied and pasted it. It says 4. It should be 2. Pretty sure that's all I need to fix. Yeah, okay. What's failing here? Oh, what's failing is I forgot to update the entire test example. I just updated part of it. Good. Oh, I need to remove skip from the to-do list. All right, add skip support to query method. All right, now let's see what I can do about basically removing this line from both cases and making a general case. Let me think how I want to handle this. So I can't just like append it to the end of the query, because in this case it's not at the end. But I think I can create a function that handles this for me. So let's do that. Let's do func limit skip. And I take limit skip as int, and I return a string. How does that sound? And then I don't need that. I just need to do return. That might be all I need to do. Is it that simple? That I think it's that simple. The problem I have with this is it's starting to, well, let me do it, and I might revert it, okay? So here, limit and skip are arguments 3 and 4, so this becomes instead limit skip, and then I just include %3s. Then I do the same thing here, %3s, limit skip. I think this is going to work. Got something wrong. Oh, because that's not 3, that's 1 in this case. Okay, so it works. I'm not sure if I like this. I guess it's slightly better than what I had before. What I don't like is that I'm still sort of magically building this SQL query. I'm not sure if I'm not convinced that actually adds any clarity to this. Like having this %1s or %3s isn't actually any clearer than having limit %3. It's less clear. So I feel like that's a step backwards. I'm not sure if I like that. Yeah, I don't like it right now. I'm trying to think if there's a better way to do it. You may have noticed that I have template variables in some cases. I'm considering whether I can do the same here, so that this d.query function is what turns these into table names. But so far, I've only used that for table names, and that's because the table name depends on runtime configuration. I don't know it beforehand. In principle, I could have it do the same with limit, but I don't know if I want to do that. I'm not sure what I want to do here. I'm not sure. I know I don't want to do what I've done, so just makes it harder to read. This is easier to read. It does mean passing 2 arguments instead of 1 into FMT sprintf, but I don't think that's any worse than what I changed it to, and then this is much less readable. Let me consider the other option, the other bit, which is end key and start key. I might want to refactor those. Before I do that, though, I need to add those tests. So let me add those tests for end key and start key. Whoops. So end key has two formats. I'll delete both of those from the to-do list. So I'm going to basically create. Let me just copy this. Change the description. End key equals B. So I should get A and B. Actually, is that true? Should I get A and B or should I just get A? Let me double check the documentation. Because there's an option to make it either inclusive or not. I don't remember what the default is. Inclusive and default is true. Okay, so I should get A and B unless I turn that value off. Why is this complaining? Unexpected. What? Oh, I see. It's up here. There we go. All right, so this should fail because it should return all the documents or all the results, not just the first two. And that's exactly what we get. Okay. All right, let's make it work. So I'm going to pass, well, let's see. I'm going to pass end key. Whoops. Over here. Which is going to cause a failure because I'm not passing it yet. So let's add that here. Okay, now let's see how we do this here. So I have this where thing. I don't remember what that rank is, honestly. Oh, that's to handle conflicts. I will care about that, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I haven't implemented that. So I'm going to wonder if I should. Maybe I should do that first. It might be harder to, I think I will do that first. It'll be harder to go backward, to retrofit that. Okay, let me just undo what I've done. Let's do conflicts first. Conflicts is a concept in CouchDB. How do I explain it concisely? You know what? I don't know if is that even relevant? Yeah, it's got to be relevant. Oh, it's okay. It is relevant, but before I do that, I need to include docs support. So reset my branch once more. I love doing that. Don't be afraid of resetting your branch. If you work yourself into a rabbit hole or a corner, you paint yourself into a corner, just reset your branch. Worst case scenario, you wasted 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour of coding, right? Better to do that than sunk cost and trying to dig yourself out of a hole. All right, so I need to, I'll talk about conflicts in a moment. First, I need to include docs support. What that means, so basically I'm querying this view, which returns a list of keys and values that have been created by a map function. Now I want to include documents too. So I only need one document to test this. Include docs. true. Hang on. I want to use a different method here. I need to change this also. Include docs equals true. Okay. And so I expect the same thing, except I expect the doc to be populated. Yeah, I think that's, I want it to be a 1, 1, and a. And why is this complaining? What are you complaining about here, silly nonsense? Is it up here again? Doc is supposed to be a string. That would explain it. Should be key. Oops, let me change this to there. There we go. I think that's right. All right. This is going to be interesting because I have to change this query to include documents. That might add a bunch of complication. I'm not sure yet. So it looks like I already have doc here. It's just null. I'm always sending null. I was prepared, I guess. So in this case, I want to stop sending null and start sending a document. Let's see what we do here. So we're joining on reduce. All right, let me pull up my schema again so I remember what columns reduce has. What columns reduce has. Hases. How did I say that? I've been speaking English my entire life. How did I say hases? Reduce has ID. This is reduce, right? No, this is. Why is it called reduce here? The table is called map. That's what I'm looking for. I have ID, key, and value. All right. This might be complicated. So I have the ID. I wonder if I want to update that. I'm not sure. So the ID is the document ID. So now I need to fetch that document, but I don't know which revision of the document to fetch. I think I want to store the rev ID and stuff here as well. I think that's what I want. It's going to require a big update. Rev. Yeah, I think I want to include these fields as well so I can do a proper foreign key relationship. I say it's a big update. I don't actually know how many places this code touches. Not a whole lot, but let's see. Let me see where else I query map and where I insert into it. That will tell me. So there's a delete from, insert into. Okay. So I think I need to add rev ID. And then args isn't big enough yet. I need to, let me see here. So args contains the arguments that are being passed. So I need to add 2 more arguments for each document entry that's being inserted. So here I had ID. What's here? I don't think this is enough. No, I don't have the data I need. I need to add more data to this thing. Why is this a map? I don't know. How is this being called? Okay. It's a map because I can emit more than one key value pair for each document. That's why. Maybe I can make this take. Maybe I can make the key something more than a string. Type doc rev. So like a struct. Use string. I feel like that's not quite right. This should be an int, I think. Can this be a map key now? Yes, it can. All right, what's failing here? Cannot use variable of type. Oh. I have duplicate ideas of keys. Okay, I'm going to reset my branch. I'm getting too confused. And I'm going to just try again. There. I'm going to just update this first to take doc and rev ID information as a key. Type doc rev struct ID string rev int rev ID string. All right, so I want this to be the new key. For now, I'm not using the rev. In fact, I'm just going to delete that right now. I'm just going to do it like this for the moment, okay? Doc rev. I want to make this work, and then I'll add the revision stuff. Let's call this map key to disambiguate, I guess. All right, still failing a few places here. Map key, good enough. So this is interesting. I guess I can have let me see how delete's being used. If that will have access to the, I think it'll have access to the rev. It doesn't matter right now, I guess. One thing at a time. My concern was whether it would have access to the revision information as well. If it doesn't, I'll figure it out. If it does, then no problem. Okay. Map key. This needs to be updated to be doc rev. All right. See if it works. It should be a pure refactor. It's not. Something's broken. I think I know what it is. I'm trying to pass doc rev a struct I think it's deleted. It's being passed in somewhere as an argument to SQL. Is it here? Yeah, here it is. So this should be id.id. I think that will solve that problem. No, maybe not. I don't know if that solved any problem at all, or if it was completely irrelevant. What's going on? Let me just look at this closely. So this is a slice of docrev, and this IDs. How is this being used? Yeah, it's being passed to delete from. So that is probably right. This needs to be id.id, and this also the same. That might be why this wasn't happening. So basically, what this does is it deletes the old entries before I create the new one. So I don't worry about I don't need to worry about the revision ID there. I just need to clean up that stuff. That's not enough. It's not enough. Probably having the same thing happen here, right? I need to pass ID. Let's rename this to docrev to be more clear. I should do the same thing to the places as well. Docrev. Actually, I don't like that name because that's going to shadow. Let's call it map key again. It's not a great name either, but at least it doesn't shadow the type definition. Okay, now it works. All right, so small refactor complete. Refactor, what was the name of that data type? It was a map index batch to key on struct to add rev info later. All right, now I want to add rev and rev ID here, which is going to fail the same way it failed a moment ago. But we're in a better position to add that here. So rev int, rev ID string, that should be ID, capitals, string. So now I need Copilot did me bad there. Excuse me. All right, now I'm not passing enough arguments as expected. That's right here. I need to pass in a revision. Let me see if I have that revision handy or if I need to get it somewhere. Select, blah, blah, blah. What am I selecting? So I am selecting ID and rev. Okay, so I need to pass that in here is what I need to do. See, this is a closure. So emit is actually being used down here. And down here, I should have access, I think I should have access to where's this coming from? It's coming from here. Row ID, row rev. Okay, it's returning something. It's not actually returning it. It's setting it in line. So it's not actually giving me the info I want directly, but maybe that's okay. Well, I think it has access to it. Let me see. Yeah. Row rev. Row rev is the first, second, third argument. There's the ID. No. Okay. What I see it what I think it's doing, let me verify. Yeah, it is returning the data, but it's already in its parsed format. I wonder if that's good enough. Let me think. So the rev has two parts. It has and separated by a dash. It has a number and then uh, random looking string. It's not actually random. It's like an MD5 sum. I don't see an example right now, but it looks kind of like this. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm returning the two parts concatenated already here. I'm deciding if I care about if that's good enough or if I need the split part, the component parts. What am I using it for? I'm using it for foreign key. I need the component parts. Do you consider mentorship? That's a great question. I absolutely do. I have two mentors right now. Let me just share my mentoring page. boldlygo.tech/mentoring. I have a couple of different plans. You can head over there and sign up. I have some availability right now. So yeah, if you're looking to learn Go or improve your Go skills, absolutely. I would love to talk to you about that. You get access to me once a month for an hour, plus all month long access on Slack or email to chat about your projects or your questions about Go or your CV or whatever. It doesn't have to just be Go specifically. Anything related to your career. Although Go is my expertise. If you have questions about Python or something, I'm not going to be able to help you a whole lot with that. But yeah, love to hear from you. Okay, so what was I doing? I'm trying to handle this revision. So I have two options. I can either modify the query to return the component parts of the revision and then concatenate them where they're needed to be concatenated, or what's simpler for right now, so I think is what I'll do, is I can reparse the concatenated version where I need it. So that's not the best. It's not it's not what I like the best. It's not the most efficient, but it's easier than trying to modify all these SQL queries for the moment. So that's what I'm going to do. So where was I? I guess I could just follow my errors. Here is where I need to pass in a revision. And then I can pass it here. Now I have the error. I just moved the error up a little bit. And now the error is happening here. So let me go over to this full document thing. I'm going to add a method on here that does the parsing for me. Full doc. Whoops. So the revision is stored here, but this is the concatenated version. And I want this to return the non-concatenated version, right? So that's what I'm going to do here. So parse revision. The thing is, it does return an error. I suppose I should honor that. Whoops. All right. Because this error should never happen. If it does, I have corrupted data because that means I stored an invalid revision on the database, but whatever. It's easy to add the error handling. All right, let's see if my error goes away now. Probably not, because I don't think I finished plumbing everything up. All right, so this emit is calling add. Right, so I have the data now. Well, sort of. Delete needs the same thing. And I need to add the same thing here. So that's also going to fail. So let me move this calculation up above the place where I call deleted. And where else is it called? Right here. Yeah, okay. So that's solved. So actually, that should be working if I remove these two new columns again. I think everything should be working again. Yep, okay. Let me just commit that. Add revision to map index batch key. All right. Once again, add this here and watch it fail. All right. And now, where was that insert? I found it before. Find it again. There's delete. Don't care about that one. Insert. All right. ID, rev ID. And then these args need to be updated to contain map key dot rev and map key dot rev ID. That might be it. Let's see if this solves it. Nope. Unexpected error. 3 values for 5 columns. Okay. What did I do wrong? Is there somewhere else I'm also doing an insert? Three values for 5 columns. I mean, that kind of makes sense, but I think I fixed this one. Turn this into a panic. That'll tell me if that's the particular case that's failing. It is. It is. Okay. So args equals blah. Okay, this should be times 5 now. I don't think that's the problem, but let's see. No, that's not the problem. What's wrong? What's wrong? Args equals append. So we had ID, rev, entry. Yeah. Oh, this is the problem. I forgot to add enough of this nonsense. So this becomes $% D, $% D. So that's where. So this is the part that adds the $1, $2, $3, etc. to the SQL query. I failed to add enough of those. Now why is it complaining? Oh, it has what? Oh, it doesn't make sense. Does make sense. There we go. All right. Now the last piece that's missing is to create an index to make this foreign key correct. So I need to basically do this. Foreign key ID rev ID references blah. Now I have to decide if this on delete cascade makes sense. Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't want that. The thing is, deleting should virtually never happen. We leave tombstones behind. We don't actually delete documents in CatchDB. Anyway, let me make sure the test still pass. All right. All right. Update maps table to include proper foreign key to docs. All right. All of that to start including docs. Now I get to go back and rewrite that test that I deleted. And the include docs, I can delete that once again. And let's copy and paste a la Stack Overflow, except we're not really doing that. Include docs equals true because we know what we're doing. We only need one document for this. one doc. And this becomes include docs true. All right, so now we have a failing test. And now it should be a lot easier to add that document because we have a foreign key for it. So now, where is it? Is it here? From group query, that's not the right one. This is the right one. So now this can be joined properly. From maps, let's call this as map. Join, okay, and reduce is this thing up here. Which I don't really care about for this purposes right now. Instead, I want to join. Do I want join or left join? I don't think it matters because these should always have, yeah, it shouldn't matter. Join docs as docs on map.id equals docs.id. Yes. Map.rev equals docs.rev and map. Yes. Perfect. And I think I just want this to be docs.doc. Yeah, it actually, doc isn't right. It's not. Is it body? It's not actually quite that simple, but we'll get there. It is called doc. Okay. Let's see what that does. I don't think it's going to work. Ambiguous column name ID. Yeah. So we need to basically everywhere we had. So this needs to become reduce dot. Wait, is it reduce? No, map dot map dot map dot. Does that solve it? It solves that, but it does all. Okay, it worked. It worked, except we're unconditionally including the doc now. We need to do it only in the right situation, right? So this is where this other place we're passing in. How did I do it here? I can't remember how I did that. Include docs is in here somewhere. There it is. Okay, it's the first argument being passed as args here. So it's $1. Where am I checking $1? It's not, syntax highlighting isn't showing me. Here it is. This is exactly what I want to do. So if $1 is true, then I return the doc. If not, then null. I want to do the same thing here. So docs.doc. But then I need to also pass that in as an argument, right? Where are my arguments? I don't have an args slice here like I do the other case, I don't think. They're just being passed in right here. So let's pass in include docs. Except I don't want it to be $1 because that's going to be ambiguous with whatever else is already $1. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me just count how many arguments I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that'll be $7. I should use named arguments, which actually I can do. I should. It should be a refactor I do later on, right? So include docs. Oh, but that's not being passed in. Okay, let's pass it in. I'll make it I'll put it after group since they're both Booleans. It's not really logical to group them together otherwise, but whatever. Let's see if that fixes it. It almost does. I mean, it does. I just didn't write my test expectation quite right. I'm actually missing 2 bits of data there. So the document includes the ID in it, which I see here. But it also includes the revision, which I don't see there, so I need to fix that. And the revision is whatever's returned from this. So I need to actually add that to my test. So now it's going to fail again, but in a different way. So there's a revision that should be there, but it's not. And I think that's pretty simple. I think basically, well, I'm not actually sure what's going on there or how to make it do that. But let me look at that query. I did see that query, the revision was being was empty. You see, there's just quote revision as rev. That probably needs to be something. Oh, it certainly needs to be something. I suppose it's conditional also. So I could do it like this, except instead of docs.doc, it would be docs.rev, concatenate it with this, docs.rev ID. I don't think that's going to solve it by itself, although it might. Oh, I can't do null here. Let's do, so just empty string rather. Although it probably actually, yeah, they didn't, oh, they almost solved it. Was smart enough to do that. But what's this colon? Did I have a typo in my own thing? I did. That wasn't enough to solve it. So I already run enough logic to be smart about that. So that's cool. All right, so we have include docs support. Include docs support to query method. I still feel like there's a lot of duplication between the query and the old one that can be eliminated, but we're getting there. The next step, I think, is the conflicts, which is probably, it might be a little bit hairy, but I think I'll get started on it anyway. Because then I think we can work on deduplicating other code a little bit more. Well, anyway, let's see what's involved. That include docs is a lot hairier than I expected anyway, but we got through it. So let's say include docs equals true, conflicts equals true. So the reason we have to do include docs first is because it only works with, or it even implies, conflicts implies include docs. All right, for conflicts to be meaningful, we need to have a conflict. So we need to create another revision that has a conflict, and that's a little bit tricky. Let's see if I can remember how that works. Rev2. Let me pull up another test case where I've created conflicts before, and I can copy the logic. Okay, so we need to pass in our own revision here. We call this, yeah, value 2 is fine. Why isn't this happy? And the magic is to pass in this argument as an option that allows it to create a conflict. All right, and then the conflict will be, how is that presented? I don't remember. It's going to show up in the doc here as a new key called underscore conflicts with, yeah, ABC. Is that right? It's probably right. I don't actually need this rev value here. I'm specifying the rev. This is going to fail. Oh, it's failing in two ways. One which I didn't anticipate. This is going to be hairier than I thought. So the first way it's failing is what expected. That's this right here. It doesn't include the conflicts data. The other way it's failing is that when I execute the view, I don't take into consideration conflicts. So I probably need to solve that problem first, which is going to probably take at least the rest of the time for the day, but I can get started on it. So I'm actually going to reset my branch. And I want to, I don't want to deal with conflicts right now. I just want to, so this is the place I've been writing my tests for my view logic. It probably doesn't make sense to anybody watching what that means. The way I handle map functions. I'm going to do that right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a conflicting document. I only expect one of those to show up in the results is essentially what's happening here. So when conflict exists, only winning rev is present in view. That's what I want, but it's not what I have right now. So I need to basically reproduce the conflict that I just did a moment ago. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this same approach for both versions. And the reason I'm going to do that is I want to control which one is the winning revision rather than just relying on the MD5 sum or whatever. Okay, this doesn't make any sense. So as I mentioned earlier, the default revision is an MD5 sum of the document contents, but I want to control that here. So I'm going to put rev. When there's a conflict, whichever revision sorts earliest is the winner. So this way I can control that. So one ABC will sort before one XYZ. So that's why I want to control this here. So I want to see only value 1, not value 2. I expect right now to see both, but that's the bug. Yeah, I'm getting both now in reverse order for some reason. So I need to change my query logic for updating views, and I don't remember where that is, but I'll find it. Update index right here. This query, I think, is the one that's wrong. Select revs, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this query is wrong. It just blindly goes through and looks at all versions of all documents. And I want it to only, this part confuses me a lot. I've done it 1,000 times and it still confuses me. I want to only get, I think this might even be more broken than I thought. Select docs, rev ID, func body, blah, 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 from docs. This is even more broken than I thought, I think. Okay, before I worry about conflicts, so I think this is actually going to return multiple copies of the same document if I have, so yeah, I think. So this new test will be called views, if I could spell, views only include most recent version of document. So let's copy this again. Except this time I want to keep rev. And then I'm going to update the same document. Rev, well, it doesn't matter what the revision is. All right, so I create the document with value 1. I update it, this time with value 2, and I would, and so the correct behavior is that it will return value 2. But I expect that it will return both. Let's see. Oh, it's working. Okay. That's weird. I don't see that logic here, but maybe I'm just not, maybe I'm glossing over it. Well, it's not bad to have another test on that case, but I don't know why that's working. Yeah, that fails as expected. So that is working. Maybe this isn't the right query. What does this query do here? Oh yeah, this isn't the right. This is the query here. Okay, so this is just fetching. Oh yeah, okay. This is getting the map reduce functions. That's what that's doing. This is the actual query I care about. All right, so let's go back to. I'll just repurpose this. Views should only include winning rev in case of conflict. So let's turn this into conflict again. So I know the rev I'm going to use. I don't need to do that. I'm going to reformat for readability. And copy another one. This will be XYZ, value 2, and I expect to see only value 1. Except that I don't expect that. I expect it to fail right now. But that's what, let's go trust, go test. All right, yeah, so it's failing. All right, this is the query I need to change to only accept winning revs. Let me try to wrap my head around this again. Select all that stuff from this. This is select doc sequence, rev ID, order by, okay, this is going to require a little bit of work. So I'm ordering my doc sequence. That is essentially the order in which updates were made. So I'm going to have to do at least one other subquery here first. I'm actually surprised that that other test I just created worked. Let me think. Why? Yeah, I'm actually confused why the other test worked with the 2 revisions of the same document. I would have expected this to do both versions because of this order by doc sequence. Oh, here. Okay, this explains that. I'm effectively selecting only, I'm doing a join from revisions onto revisions. So I'm only getting documents without children. So that explains that. and I'm going to have to change this to a subquery. And I'm struggling to visualize that right now. Matrix math is not my strong suit. Basically, I want to query against a version of Rev that already has losing conflicts and non-leaf nodes filtered out. I know I've done that before in other places. Let me see if I have that. That's basically what this sort of thing does here. I think I'm going to do this later. I'm almost out of time. I could do this while you're staring at me, but I probably would bore you. I would bore myself. So I think I'll end my stream. It looks like most of the audience has dropped off by now anyway. Um, so I'll work on this more before next week, and we can pick it up next week at whatever stage I am then. Thanks for joining today, by the way. Yeah, sorry to end a little early, but we made it most of the way through. So thanks for watching. Hope to see you here next week when I'll do some more of this. Thanks, everybody.